Hi, welcome back to my channel. This is Stasia Bliss, where we talk about all things Kundalini rising, Kundalini awakenings, life force management. Thank you for being here. I love to see all the new subscribers, so thank you so much for supporting this channel. I think this information is just really important in the time that we're living in because there is something else going on, right? There is something else going on that's a spiritual maturation that we're still using old paradigm languaging for and lenses for, and for this new reality, we need to put those down and try on a new pair of glasses, try on a new outlook, way of looking at things, hanged man, right? Get a new perspective on this reality. So I feel like this is both an ancient one and a time-honored one, and also a very new one, right? Because I mean, Kundalini awakenings have been known about for millennia. It's documented in ancient texts, this very process that we're in so many traditions. In fact, do I have that book right here? I'm reading this awesome book that I found at the library. Look at the size of this thing, about the chakras. Complete Book of Chakras, Cindy Dale. This woman has done so much research on all the places that the chakras and Kundalini are referenced throughout the world in so many different traditions. This book is bomb. Okay, Cindy Dale, I can just flip it open to any page. I mean, let's just try it. Music of the Spheres. Mantras are sacred verbal formulas designed to enhance our spiritual practice. In ancient Vedic and Tantric texts, mantras and rituals surrounding them were quite complex. The verbal formulas usually contained the name of a seer, focused on a presiding deity or divine energy, featured a metrical unit or inner rhythm, and had a purpose. Sometimes symbols or parts of the mantra would be deposited on parts of the practitioner's body, and that's true. You see some of the old texts where you see Sanskrit symbols on different parts of the body that would be chanted as a mantra on that particular part. Anyway, really cool. So I brought that up because this concept has been around for a very long time, but it's sort of been lost in our Western world. Many of us seekers, including probably you if you're here on this channel, and like me, went seeking this sort of wisdom. I traveled to India. I studied in the ashrams and yoga schools there and at the feet of masters, and really blew my mind. Really had some different experiences myself, and really got a new perspective for what so many people are struggling with in this Western world, in this reality, and that it's not what you think. Not what you think. So I wanted today to address Kundalini and loss, mostly because I used the tarot to help me decide what to talk about today, and I got the Ten of Swords, which is the loss card. And so I asked, because I'm liking to integrate with the cards, I asked how to talk about this. Because again, this isn't just me telling you. When I sit before you, I'm a North Node Sagittarian. Part of my deal is just to be the visionary and to tune in and let the divine use me as a vessel. So a lot of times I don't even know what's going to be said. It just comes through. And so please excuse the messenger and just get the message that's right for you, right? In anything that I say on any of my videos, right? I'm just doing this because I'm compelled to, and too much is stored up in here and in the backdrop of me that I have to open my mouth. So when I asked how to talk about Kundalini and loss, I get Atman and Hanuman. This is going to be fun to weave this stuff together. So Atman, I immediately think, and if you've ever listened to Alan Watts, he quotes the famous Indian scripture, Atman is Brahman. Atman is Brahman. The small self, Atman, is the divine self, Brahman, the ultimate. So the ultimate reality is contained in the smaller self. Loss kind of makes us think that we lost something, right? That we had something and now it's gone. But from this perspective, it's like we think we lost it, but it's actually contained in the allness of who we are. So, you know, these eclipses, oh, I lost my feather. The eclipses we just went through on the Aries Libra axis have really like invited some relational changes. So some people might have lost relationships, look at that cute thing, in their life recently, or just relationships are transitioning, they're transforming. I did lose a dear friend recently, not to death, but we just went our separate ways. I knew it was coming, it needed to happen. I can look at it as a loss, and of course there's always some, like, you know, heartaches associated with that, because you're like, well, this person was my life and now they're not. But from the perspective of Atman as Brahman, and this is a good practice for anybody, romantic or friendship or otherwise, to look at how that person and what they brought you is inside of you. And sometimes we separate because we think there's differences, but really sometimes it's such a strong mirror, it's hard to deal with. As was the case in this one, sometimes the mirror is so reflective that it's painful. Remembering that the all is contained in the one. And really it just takes us tuning into that expanded state to find both the positive and the negative, like what part of me is that thing that I don't like in that person, or what part of me is that trait that I do like. So feeling into that. And then I also got Hanuman, which is a perfect example of living as the bigger self, right? I don't know if you know the story of Hanuman, but Hanuman is friends of Ram, and I'm just noticing the sun and the moon are here. So just really, like, we just had this eclipse the other day, and we're really like in the middle of a bigger eclipse cycle. We're kind of sitting between the two. Look at the spirals. Hanuman is, the heart chakra is usually open for him. He's got the sun there. So he becomes like the best friend of Ram in trying to help the situation where Sita is abducted. And this is like a whole tale, and I hope I'm not just merging two stories, but the basic gist of the story is Hanuman's loyalty to his friend Ram, and how beautiful that is. And even when that means he has to stretch himself beyond his normal abilities. And in the story, he does fly, he grows really big, like he has to do all these things to help his friend. But, you know, he does it out of a gracious, loving, and open heart chakra. So bringing this back to loss, and I talked about this in Kundalini and the evolution of the heart chakra. That's another video you can find on here. That heartbreak is part of heart expansion. It's part of the heart chakra opening. So when we do experience a loss, remember to take the perspective that this is a stretching of my heart. This is an ability to contain more within me. So whatever the loss may be, there is an opening occurring. There is an expansion, and right now we've got Jupiter and Uranus in a conjunction, getting ready to really do their big conjunction in about 10 days, but they're together now already with the moon in Taurus. Taurus very much like at our home, in our safe place, right? In our place where we feel the most comfortable, where our highest values are. Taurus rules like the beauty that we surround ourselves with, but also what we're stubborn about. It rules our money and our finances. It's a Venetian planet, so it has a lot to do with our heart and the way we love and our relationships and what's of highest value to us. So with this recent eclipsing stuff, like something was probably lost. But again, it's part of the process of cleansing. The Kundalini moves through, and like we lose things, but we don't really lose them. Like we think that they are lost, to us, but there really has been a deeper integration, a deeper understanding, an expansion, maybe a surprising one with Uranus and Jupiter, a surprising expansion in that place where we were so like familiar and at home with. You have a Taurus sun, like he likes, you know, what he knows. Of course, he has a Sagittarius moon, so he does like to move about, but there is this like stubbornness with what we know, with that Taurian energy that wants to like stretch and expand and surprise us. Jupiter and Uranus there. So to be loyal to our own heart, you know, I like to look at the monkey god Hanuman, monkey, if you know, whatever you think about evolution, the idea that we evolved from apes or whatever, it seems a little ridiculous, but there is like a similarity there. So sometimes I like to think of, you know, the friendship needs to be strong, and there needs to be a loyalty between our animal or a less evolved self, or animal instincts, our amygdala, our primal nature, a loyalty to our highest version of self, which Ram would be. Like our highest version of self. Ram is like the king. He's like the pure one. He loves Sita. They are like the ideal couple, you know, like he's heartbroken that Sita gets taken, you know. And so the loyalty of Hanuman, the loyalty wants to be there between our lower nature and our higher mind, which we have to trust that when loss occurs, that it's purposeful and it's actually not even really loss. Like to take the vision up higher, Atman is Brahman. Lower self is the divine self. It's within it. It's stacked like a Russian doll. And so as these perceptions of the tarot come into our reality, because, you know, some would say the tarot isn't a true divination tool because it's functioning on a lot of really like base human levels, but that's where I see that, but that's true though. We do deal with these circumstances at the very dense level of reality, but that's why the other cards and cardology and the I Ching and runes and stuff are so important to stack behind them if you do a reading, because you want to see not just what's happening here, but like on all these other dimensions, the larger perspective. Because Kundalini is not just working in your body and in my body, but it's working collectively in the bigger picture. So something in the bigger picture needs to blow out. So that version of that relationship that's like a repeating pattern in reality is evolving. So if you're involved in it, it has to kind of like explode, right? If the loss is from losing someone in their embodiment from a death, then we like again remember. I know this is one thing to say this, and it's another thing to really fill into it, the idea that death is an illusion. One of my teachers, Almin, amazing mystic, says anything that has an opposite is not real. This is a deep concept to chew on, but even in Kundalini, like we are coming from duality and we're trying to return to unity, which is already true. Like we're already unified. We're just under the illusion that we're opposing forces having to come together. We're under the illusion that we're separated, but we wanted the illusion. We wanted to play the game of opposites, I believe, so we can have this experience. At least that's how it seems to me. So when there is a perceived death, and I've lost dear people in my life too, we don't see them anymore in the physical, at least not right now, but their presence is with us. In fact, oftentimes I feel like this happens when we needed to integrate their life into ours. And that's a hard one to chew on, but I know it's true from the people that I've lost, is I needed to integrate what they represented in me more fully. And through their perceived loss, excuse me, I'm feeling the emotion of that, of this card, through experiencing their life and then their loss, to hold on to them, you could say, to keep them we do pull into them, we do express, or let's say grow, expand to contain more of ourselves, which is a part of them. And it's like going to get the friend and bring it back into the heart. So a little bit about Kundalini and Loss. Let me fill into that if there's anything else around that. I do want to mention I am starting the Cardology 6-part class on Thursday night at 5 p.m. Pacific on Zoom. Cardology is an awesome tool to look at the blueprint of your life unfolding. You can see where there are big transition points in your life. If you're interested in that sort of eye into your reality, certain cards will show that because they're mapped out for your entire life. There is like a patterning you can see for yourself. So if you're interested in that, just send me an email and I'll hook you up with the information. I also just want to end on the note that, again, nothing is really ever lost, but the experience of loss, it's like, again, you've heard me talk about the dark night of the soul or the die-off period in an awakening, where we have gained a new understanding, and so the old ways, they don't work anymore, so we're shedding actual like brain synapses and stuff that don't work. Like we're losing those, we're releasing them into the bloodstream, and that feels yucky, and that can feel like depression, and it can feel toxic. That can happen in our reality too, when we've outgrown a certain behavior. And sometimes people themselves represent a stuck behavior. And so their passage can be a sign that that particular rigidity in your reality has to move, as difficult as that can be. That's looking at the bigger picture, right? And recognizing we're all on this evolutionary journey from our smaller selves to our bigger self, and that these losses are our passageways, our initiatory places in our life where to gain we lose ourselves to find ourselves. There's a lot of scriptural references to that. Anyway, I don't want to make this video go on too much longer, but I hope this is helpful in gaining a new perspective on loss and Kundalini. Thank you for being here. Thank you for joining me. It's always an honor to be here with you. I'm Stasia Bliss. If you like this video, please like it, share it, subscribe, and I'll see you again tomorrow for another episode. And until then, namaste, and remember, I love you.